Hello and welcome to the fifth and final episode in this series of photography videos from the Walt Disney World Resort. In this episode, we're spending the entire day at the EPCOT theme park. We got there right at opening, which during this first week of the park's reopening, it opens pretty late. I can't remember, it was either 10 or 11. It was the latest of the four parks, I think 10. And when we got there, we went straight to Test Track because that's our favorite, and it was closed. So we didn't want to go all the way over to Soarin', which is the other go-to when it first opens ride, because the middle of Epcot is all under construction right now, so that's a really long walk. So we went all the way back to the World Showcase and went to ride the Frozen Ever After ride. And on the way, I made a few photographs. I don't think I was expecting my first photograph at Epcot to be a 200mm shot of a double-crested cormorant, but here it is. I was really happy to see this beautiful bird and its turquoise eyes. We see them around home sometimes, and it was nice to see one there. This is more like what I was expecting, these beautiful flowers, because Epcot has beautiful gardens all over the park, and I made a photograph of this near the Mexico Pavilion. Here's a few clips from the Frozen Ever After ride, and I made these with the X-T3, and I had the 55 to 200mm lens on for these clips.
For spending me and you. Let's just call it right there.
For my sister's
Exactly.
Okay, so we are at Epcot in the Japan Pavilion, and we just ate at this wonderful Katsura Grill restaurant. And I made a photograph here of this koi pond with a waterfall. I used a 5-stop neutral density and a circular polarizer, so you could see right through the water. Did it handheld, and it turned out okay, I think. Okay, I'm showing you these photos in the reverse order that they were made. This was the last of the 3 that I'm about to show you, and I described it in the previous clip, and you can see it was at 1/4 of a second and f9 to get the exposure correct. And this one I did not have the filter on, so to get a half a second I had to drop it all the way down to f22. This is above the koi pond. All this water eventually flows down into the koi pond. Now this next shot is probably one of the more common shots that you'll see people make, looking through this arch. I'm not sure what they actually call that, with the spaceship Earth is what it's actually called. Most people call it the Epcot ball in the background. It took me a minute to walk back and forth and get everything, with me being the right distance from the arch and having the spaceship Earth ball at the right size in the middle. And it was a good thing I had a zoom lens so I could get it just right. Okay, so we are still in the Japan Pavilion, as you can see by the, what is that, a pagoda?
I don't know.
By whatever that thing is over there. And now I've got the 55 to 200 lens on, a 10-stop neutral density filter, and a separate circular polarizer. And I'm a little over 100mm, shooting all the way across the lake at Spaceship Earth on the other side. And I'm at f16, ISO 160, and 15 seconds. Got a 2-second timer, and there we go. That shot will take a while. Okay, so I wasn't as happy with this shot as I hoped I would be, because it took me a long time to get it set up just right. I really liked the handheld shot that I showed you previously a lot better of Spaceship Earth across the water. But at least this one did have the water slicked out. Now this photograph of this honeybee on this flower, I made this in the France Pavilion. Heather pointed out this huge planter that had many of these flowers in it, and there were honeybees all over the place. And I spent 5 or 10 minutes trying to get the shot just right. And I love, love, love this bunny rabbit shot with the juxtaposition, and the one bunny's in focus and the other one's a little bit out of focus. And there was a parent who hollered at their kid, "We've got bunnies at home," which I thought was funny because I've got bunnies at home as well. But I kept on shooting. Here's another beautiful flower of Epcot. There's a lot of wonderful flowers to be seen at Epcot, especially this time of year, and really any time of year at Epcot. There's beautiful flowers. And here's another one. Look at this shot. I love the dark background on this and the beautiful bright colors. And I gotta tell you, that 55 to 200 lens is pretty impressive for mild macro use like this. And here is a hibiscus that I made a photograph of. I thought this turned out really, really nice. Just can't say enough good stuff about the Fuji 55 to 200 lens. Really, really happy with it on this trip. So during social distancing, they don't have characters that come up and give you a hug and sign your autograph book, but we thought that it was really brilliant the way they did this. They had Winnie the Pooh, and he's on the other side of a waterway. You can't get to where he's at, but it was fun interacting with him. There he is waving at us. It was really fun. And now we've made our way all the way to the Land Pavilion, which is kind of on the opposite side of Future World from Test Track. And you can see Casey on the left-hand side of this picture making her way up the hill to go into the Land Pavilion. And inside the Land Pavilion is the Soarin' Ride, which is not a place to do photography or videography. And there's also the Living with the Land boat ride, where you get to tour some greenhouses. And I made a few video clips there using the X-T3 and the 55 to 200 lens.
The water in the tanks. As a result, we're able to save millions of gallons each year. While there are more than 50,000 edible plant species in the world, most of us are only familiar with the handful that make up our everyday diet. Innovative growing techniques like these increase yields while more efficiently using resources like water, fertilizer, and pesticides. With it, we can produce over 27,000 heads of lettuce a year in this one small area. Some of our best ideas have been inspired by nature, like these fruit and vegetable trees. By growing these ground plants vertically, we can increase yields and better control diseases. These crops taste as good as they look. In fact, we serve more than 15 tons of produce from our greenhouses in restaurants here at the Land every year. A fraction of the space required by traditional growing methods. That saves water and increases production. The aquaponics system on your left combines hydroponics with aquaculture. The fish provide a natural source of fertilizer for the plants, and the plants help keep the water clean for the fish. It's another great way to produce more while using less.
After we finished up the Living with the Land boat ride that you just saw clips of, we went over to the seas with Nemo and friends, and we don't really like that entire experience, but we do love the manatee tank that you can go to when you get off of that ride. And here's a pro tip. We like to go in through the outdoor, as Led Zeppelin would say. We go to the exit of the ride, you can walk right in, go backwards through the gift shop, and you'll come out in the open area where you can get to the manatee tank. So here is a couple of clips made with the X-T3 and the 55 to 200 of the manatee tank. And now, finally, after walking all over the park, we finally make it back to Test Track for our first ride of the day. Woohoo! This is GoPro footage.
Here comes the final test.
Energizing for power test.
All right, so now we've gone back to the World Showcase, and here is a brown anole, which is an invasive lizard that you see all over Florida, and I've even seen some all the way up here in Tennessee. It's the same shot. I'm showing it to you this way, although the lizard's head was actually pointing down. You can see it better turned this way. Really cute, and they're everywhere. Apparently they've been in Florida since the 70s, and now they are literally everywhere. Here is an example of compression. I stepped back and made this shot of Casey at 172 millimeters, and it makes her head about the same size as Spaceship Earth, and Spaceship Earth is 200 feet in diameter. So that's the power of compression. I had this nice fella pour me a pint of beer, and while he was working, I went ahead and made a photograph of him. Gosh, I'm using that 55 to 200 a lot in this video. If you want to see Casey dance, buy her a donut. This is what I've learned. And this is a band called the Jamators, and they are a percussion ensemble, and they do all of they use household items as their instruments. Here they are with pots and pans and ovens. And here's an ibis that was walking around the World Showcase. Whenever we see one, we say ibis, ibis, ibis. And I love their blue eyes. They're a lot prettier in flight than when they're just walking around. They have some black on the underside of their wings that you can't see here. This is a really cool train set that is up and running near the Germany Pavilion. And they say it may be going away, and they might add another pavilion to the World Showcase. So I made sure and got a picture of it. And then this is inside the Mexico Pavilion. I got a photograph. They were selling these sugar skull coffee cups, and I thought this was a interesting perspective photograph to make. One of Heather's favorite rides at Disney World is the dark boat ride in the Mexico Pavilion called the Grand Fiesta Tour. Let's take a few quick glimpses of it. These clips are made with the X-T3 and the 55 to 200. There are two waterways that lead either into or out of the lake that is surrounded by the World Showcase, and this is the one that's near the Germany Pavilion. And I happened to look over and look at that. There is a huge rookery on the side of this waterway, and we stood there for quite a while trying to get bird pictures, and the only good one that I got was this one. But I'm really happy with this great egret photo that I made as it was flying closer to us than all of those birds in the previous picture, but it was definitely nesting in that rookery. And now we had the Food and Wine Festival going on, and there were lots of these little Remy's in various places around the World Showcase. And you know, he is the chef from the Ratatouille movie. And here's a photograph of Heather as we were walking around the park. I thought this was a kind of a cool shot with the bokeh-fied lights in the background. And here is a photograph of Casey, and she's standing in front of a display that's talking about the Food and Wine Festival. And if you look at the very top, there's another one of the Remy's, and here is an up-close shot of that Remy with the Spaceship Earth huge and bokeh-fied in the background. And here is the last photo of the video, this beautiful flower, and I've got some bokeh-fied lights in the background. I think these are the same lights that were behind the photograph of Heather, but looking at them from a much different direction. I've got an idea. Let's ride Test Track again. Okay, so that does it for episode 5 in this series of photography videos from the Walt Disney World Resort using the Fujifilm X-T3 and the 18 to 55 and 55 to 200 lenses. If everything goes well, we are going back again in October. Should do kind of another series of videos like this, except for on this upcoming trip. Hopefully, if all goes well, I'm going to carry the Nikon Z50 and see how it does in this rigorous test. I really appreciate you watching. If you like the content, give me a thumbs up, maybe subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.